like my position personally is if I'm in a relationship with someone and it's doomed to fail because it's not going to work because of how we are, you know, I would rather know that sooner rather than later.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So document might help that because it will ask the difficult questions. It will ask you to step up and be vulnerable and show up and show the things that are inside you. If you don't have you can still do it. The document is not really 100% necessary. You can still have this conversation without writing anything. But nobody does.
Yeah.
A few people do.
Yeah.
So I would rather, if a relationship is doomed to fail, I would rather finish it quickly rather than wait 5 years, 10 years, 2 kids, and then find out.
It makes total sense, but of course, this is a very Hey everybody, this is Eric from Mentor of Men, and you're listening to the Mentor of Men podcast, the show that explores how traditional paradigms and sentiments challenge men as well as women, and how together we can evolve towards an improved, healthier, more balanced form of manhood. So today's topic is relationship agreement documents. Now you might think, what the hell is that? But bear with me, this is a really interesting concept and a really strong tool in coaching for relationships and couples. Now I'm going to talk about this with Newen Fara. And Newen is a relationship coach from Amsterdam who moved from Colombia to the Netherlands. Now Newen has a lot of personal experience with relationship agreement documents. But also professionally, he guides couples and individuals in defining a relationship agreement for themselves. But first, before we go to the juicy part of this show, I want to bring your attention to one thing. A couple of weeks ago, we ran a Brotherhood Weekender. This is a retreat for 24 guys, no women allowed. This Weekender was so beautiful. From the feedback we received from the participants, 9 out of 10, they called this retreat life-changing. I'm on a mission. I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to improve it. I'm going to keep making it better and better. So the next one is already planned for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of February in 2023. If you're interested in joining, go to mentorofmen.com. There you can find all the details and you can pre-register to participate in the Weekender. Okay, and now without further ado, let's get to the show with Newen Fara. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Well, welcome, Newen.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
Excited
I invited you. Yeah, that was good to hear. No, I invited Newen because Newen and I, we've known each other for a while now. We've been in a men's group.
5 years or so?
Yeah, I think so. We've been in the same men's group for about a year.
More,
2 years.
A year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah. Anyway, there's something that Newen is into, and that I find very interesting, and I think a lot of people are not aware of the existence of this concept. But you are into relationship agreements.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're gonna I want to explore this topic with you, and we're gonna take it from the total noob level. You know,
sure,
you've never heard about it. You're interested about it, and we're gonna explore it. But maybe it's best. Can you introduce yourself a little bit before we start?
So my name is Newen, and general. I'm Colombian. Been living in the Netherlands for 9 years now. I came initially to do a study, and I finished that study, and then started working and stayed here. For the past 3 years, before that I used to be in IT, making websites. But for the past 3 years, I've been a life coach, helping people lead happier lives, basically. I usually don't call myself life coach. I say relationship coach.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because everything in life is a relationship.
Yeah.
You know, and many people think when they hear relationship coaching, they think romantic relationships, like partnerships. But relationship is with your boss, you have a relationship. With your cousins, you have a relationship. With your neighbor, you have a relationship. You know, everything in life is a relationship.
Maybe even to yourself.
Even to yourself, with money, you have a relationship with money. You know, things. You have a car that is your favorite car. There's a relationship there. So, that's why I call myself a relationship coach.
Yeah.
because it's a very nice approach to look at things and how you relate to everything.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then you have relationship agreements.
And then relationship agreements is
so it's like let's start really basic.
It's something that I found.
Yeah.
Something that I found because we did it with my wife back then, girlfriend, and the change that it did to me, like the effect that it had on me, and how we did the relationship with my wife. It was such a positive impact that I took it as a mission, kind of, to start promoting it and talking about it and getting it out there. Because
but before you go on, like, just in one sentence, what is a relationship agreement?
A relationship agreement document.
Document.
Yes, because it's about the documents, right?
Okay.
Because anything, like, you can have agreements without having to write them.
Yes. Okay.
And you can have unconscious agreements as well.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, happens so much.
Yeah. Hidden contracts.
Yeah. But a RAD, I say RAD, relationship agreement document. It's because, the sentence of what it is. A relationship agreement document is a tool for getting to know yourself better, getting to know your partner better, and deepening the connection that you have, and therefore the relationship, partnership, marriage.
It's a tool to get there, so to know yourself better, to know your partner better, and to deepen your relationship.
It's a tool to get there,
But what is it? What does it encompass?
Oh, it's a document, physical document, or digital if you want to keep it in a computer. But kind of as a ceremony thing, you print it out and you sign it at the end.
Yeah.
There's a couple of disclaimers that I always mention regarding this, which is it's not a legally binding contract. So you're not going to come and sue your partner if they don't do something in it, right? Like they fuck up or something.
Like marriage.
Like, for instance, or like a business agreement. That's different. It's the same. It's it's a document where you agreed something with your partner.
No, but when you talk about the legally binding aspect of it, that this is not that.
Yeah, it's not that.
When you think about a marriage certificate that you sign, it actually is legally binding.
It is. Yeah.
I just had a talk with somebody in Australia, Sarah, that I told her, like, what a marriage agreement is in ways is. For a lot of people, it's an agreement that they agree to, they sign it, and it goes into effect at the moment they wish they hadn't signed it.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's
but that makes sense if you look at where marriage comes from. Like, it was not for love. Like nowadays, it's for love, but in the past, it wasn't for love. It was like a business happening. So the one disclaimer is that it's not a legally binding document, and the other one is that it's not about the document. So the benefit that you're going to get from making a relationship agreement document is not having a document. The benefit that you're going to get is through the making of the document.
It's a process.
So this is one of those cases where it's an example of this like quote that says it's about the journey, not the destination. Yeah. Like this is, you cannot be more accurate here with that because it doesn't matter the document at the end, not that much. The biggest benefit you're going to get is actually making it, because you're going to have so many conversations about what's in it and how to write it down. Yeah. Because when we're speaking about something, we, like a lot of people, I sometimes do you know what I mean, right? Yeah. Like, oh, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean, right?
No, I'm just wondering.
So we're not so specific.
Yeah.
But when you write it down.
Yeah, then it becomes specific. But I do also wonder, like, I want to go into that later maybe, but just to tap into it already is your role in this process. For instance, if you guide a couple in coming to a relationship agreement, and then the documenting part, is it actually the part you do? Or is that something the couple does themselves?
No, the couple has to do that themselves.
Because I can imagine, like, if you're just agreeing and negotiating and having the process, what you say is not about the document. I can also imagine it would be very logical that you, maybe like when I divorced, we had a mediator who was also a lawyer, but like the whole process for us was giving closure in a way that we both supported the closure, and the third party did documenting. And the only thing we did is sign it. Yeah. So I sort of relate to the story you just shared about it. It was not in creating a relationship, but ending it, but still in the maybe.
Well, I guess that can change.
Manner. Yeah.
That can change depending on a case by case scenario. Where if the couple wants me to do the writing, then I can accommodate.
Yeah.
But I would argue that it's your relationship. Like you need to do the typing.
Yeah.
Like especially if it's handwritten, then it's your handwriting.
Yeah, but only one person can type, of course, so that might give some friction there. But anyway, before we go on,
have a shared document in both doing. But the way that I used to do it with my wife is we would print it.
Yeah.
And then we would go item by item, discussing things.
Yeah.
And then I would make notes on the paper, or she would make notes on the paper. Would have just one document, make notes on it, and then one of us would update the document.
Yeah.
But the feeling that I want to convey is that the creation of it is on the couple. It has to be like a joint effort.
Yeah.
Thing.
It's funny. Like the first time that I heard about a relationship agreement was. I think it was this TV series, The Big Bang Theory. There's a scene, I think, somewhere in season. I googled it. It's still online. You can find it on YouTube. But if you look for relationship agreement, or I think that was it, and the title of the show, you'll find it. It's bloody hilarious. But there you also see that Penny and what's his name again? Her boyfriend. They want to create a relationship agreement, and she's like, "Oh, really? We need to do that." And he's like, "Yeah, I would like that." So for there, it was like really coming from the guy, But then they asked Sheldon, who's like the heavily autistic guy, super nerd, who like is completely socially awkward. But he loves the relationship agreement because he's like, oh, finally, I can just have very clear boundaries and sets of rules, like what I want. So it is sort of in that respect, they sort of made fun of the relationship agreement, and also tied it to somebody who's almost autistic, very afraid of losing something in his personal life.
That's actually true, because a friend of mine she did the relationship agreement a few years ago with her ex, now has a new relationship and she wants to do it again. Yeah. And her new partner has a level of autism. And then she told me that he said, fantastic, because it will be clear for me. Yeah. And I will be more at ease, and it will be better just to have that.
It's like predictability.
Yeah. No, certainty. The level of certainty regarding a context situation that you have in your life, which is a relationship. Yeah,
I can imagine like what it's like. Both my sons have autism, one a bit more than the other one, but like really clarifying things for them. It gives them, there's way less drama. It's just they know what's going to happen, so they can sort of mentally prepare themselves.
Expectation management.
Exactly. That's actually it's perfectly described. Yeah. But how did you come into touch with this?
I was going to mention that. Yeah. The way that we came into it, was I met my wife in a tantric workshop. Same as you. Yeah. And
I met your wife in my first workshop.
Then I met through her. Yeah. In the tantra school, they would sometimes mention it and speak about it. But it's also one thing that relationships that have an open relationship do a lot, because in non-monogamy, I should use non-monogamy better. In non-monogamous relationships, there is no predefined framework for how to do the relationship, which happens in monogamous relationships. Whatever context or social background you have will set your monogamous relationship.
It's more socially ingrained, culturally.
So, culturally. Yeah. So I come from Colombia, and it's a quite religious Catholic thing as a society. So monogamy is the most, it's everywhere. Like it's 99.99% of people are monogamous, or at least practice monogamy, serial monogamy. And there, it's never mentioned. You already your family tells you how to do a relationship because it's how they do their relationship. Yeah. It's like society around you sets the rules and the expectations of how a relationship should go. But with non-monogamy, you don't have that. You don't have a base on which to build something or which to use as a base or framework. You just have to communicate with your partner and really say, okay, how do we want to do non-monogamy? Because that can have so many different flavors and tastes and nuances, and not so much nuances. Like, how open are you?
Yeah.
What does open mean specifically? So in the open communities, it's kind of normal. It's a subject. It's spoken about and done. Like, nobody's weirded out about it, or nobody's wondering why.
What's the diversification amongst your clients who come to you for a relationship agreement document? How many of them are non-monogamous, would you say?
Not the majority, like less than half.
Is non-monogamous?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because like most of the people I know are non-monogamous. They just, it's like the normal, like they're monogamous and then the non-monogamous friends that I have, it's just like a circle of friends because they're like into that, and mostly from the tantric school, or people that I've met through there.
Yeah.
And if I try to think of people that I have not met through there that are non-monogamous, it's very few.
Yeah.
Very few people.
Okay. So it's mainly because the majority of relationship is
it's
monogamous.
just a representation of of society.
Yeah. So you discovered it there, but like, do you know where it stems from? This
From
concept?
As far as I understand, I think it comes from BDSM.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in BDSM, you really have the contract. you
Yeah.
know? And I, just right now, I remember this scene in 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I didn't read the books. I watched the movie, and in the first movie, there's this scene that they meet, super like business-like, big table, and this is your contract. You have your copy of your contract. Do you have any questions about the contract, or do you agree to it? And then they go through some things and check, and at the end, agree on that.
Yeah.
So in BDSM relationships, you kind of need it. You cannot have that relationship like that without a contract like that, and have it like really fully trust into what's happening. You need those boundaries.
But this is usually very much about boundaries, right?
Yeah.
In BDSM.
Well, boundaries and you can argue everything is boundaries.
Well, I'm not sure we're talking about the same thing, but what I'm thinking about when you mentioned this is, I think it's almost 10 years ago, but then I had one of the first dates I ever had after I divorced was with a woman who was really into that. But I didn't know that beforehand, but all of a sudden she just sent me an email with a document. Like, can you please fill this out for me? And I've been Googling all day and reading up on all the things that were in there. I'm like, oh, wow. Oh no fucking way. Like, oh, this is interesting. So like, this was like a whole world opened up to me. I think in a way that too, like there was a lot in there that I wasn't even aware of. Some of the things I was really into, some of them, like, hell no. But it was really also touching on the extreme edges and to the most dull, vanilla things. But this was really like a checklist. Like, is it a yes and maybe or no? I think like relationship agreements, it's more organic how it's shaped, right? It's more exploratory. Yeah,
and in those checklists is very much sex oriented.
Yeah.
Or sensuality, sexuality context.
Yeah.
In a relationship agreement, the way that I do it is it goes around the whole aspects of your life. Like, it's not just about sex.
Yeah.
It's about how, like, for instance, how do you deal with money in a relationship?
Yeah.
Which is something that, like, it kind of happens, Few people at the beginning of a relationship say, how are we going to, like, have a discussion about how they're going to go about their finances?
Yeah.
They just do it the way they have done it before, or the way that they see people doing it. And again, which country are you from? Then there's different ways of doing it. In Dutch is like, let's go Dutch kind of thing. And in Colombia is the guy pays for everything. But if you speak about it at the beginning, you can really, like, have a conversation and say, hey, this is my situation, that's your situation, how are we going to go about this?
So practically, like, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, like, what does it entail? But I think, like, I think you sort of answered it already, right?
It's whatever you want it to. You know?
Everything's possible.
Anything is possible.
Yeah.
Everything is possible. And there's been an evolution for my own as well. So the first time that we did it, it was just one big list of sentences, statements of this is how we do this. You know, but as it started growing, because we started adding more things to it, I had to classify it, do some like different subjects.
Yeah.
So we have household stuff, things about when we started living together. So we had to define a lot of things about how we are going to deal with laundry.
This sounds like
who's cleaning the dishes or like
so
stuff
it's a
like
living
that.
document.
It is, it is a living document.
Yeah.
Of which the first statement that I have in mind is this is a living document and we will revise it once a year.
Yeah.
That's something that we decided with my
At
wife.
least,
like once a year, it's good for us.
You have a fixed moment for review, or is it something that can always bring something up?
Both.
Yeah.
We have like during summer, around June, July, we have our yearly revision of the document, but also in the same first item, it's stated that at any time we can bring attention to something that is working or not working, or something we want to add or remove or whatever. Because you don't have to wait for the next revision to talk about something. You know? And it doesn't, having the document there doesn't mean that you cannot just talk about stuff otherwise. You're not constrained by that.
How long did it take for you to write your own document for
it
your
took
current
a few
relationship?
meetings.
A few meetings. No, but like, did you immediately start when you met her and you felt like, oh, this is a girl I'm gonna date?
No. It was not so fast. I think it came at the moment where we said, okay, we're gonna live together. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, so we started dating, let's say in I think it was July. And then we dated for, I don't know, 5 months. She went traveling. That was actually, we started dating a little bit before, but then official relationship kind of thing, like, we are in a relationship, it's open, we talked about that. It came out like 6 months later. No, sooner, but then the moment that I said to her, she went traveling and I really missed her. And when she was traveling, I was like, okay, I want this to move forward. So I told her while she was traveling, when you come back, I want us to look into living together. And then when she came back, we did the relationship agreement document. And I don't know, 2 months later or in February, March, we moved in together. So then before moving in together, we already had it. And I have the date. It's actually in December. The date that we signed for the first time, our first agreement document.
And I wonder, like, I can agree. I can imagine that you negotiate certain things or rules or boundaries or things like that. But do you also take into account, for instance, the intent you have with the relationship, or for instance, certain things that you align on? For instance, when you got together, you didn't have a child. Now you have two daughters. You also take something like that into account, in the process.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's something that has changed also in the documents themselves throughout the years, because the document was different when we didn't have children. There was nothing there was something regarding children, which was we want to have children at some point.
Yeah.
But after having our first daughter, then like we had to accommodate certain things and change them, because like life is different now, so we have to act different.
Can you give an example? If you want to share, huh?
Like, for instance, how to include Asami, my first daughter, how to include her into the way that we live life. Because she's part of a family now, so at some point she will have a voice, which she's 4 now, so we don't take that voice so seriously regarding like how we decide to live life in general. But at some point when she grows a bit older and she has more of a understanding, of of life decisions and the effects that can happen, then we will include her. So we have one item in family children section, which is the anticipation for that to happen. At some point, it says, at some point when we feel like she's ready for it, we will invite her, include her in here, because she has a voice. Yeah, she will have a voice.
It's part of the relationship. Yeah.
But then before that, we didn't even consider that would happen, because it was just not in our minds yet. We didn't see that coming. So at the beginning, it was just, at some point we want to have kids.
Would you like also have multiple relationship agreements with different people in the family, for instance, or is your intent to have a single document for the entire family?
Right now, it's a single document. We have not really gone into practicalities of how are we going to do, how she will come into it. Like, we don't know. I guess we'll answer that question when we decide, okay, it's the time for her to come in, and then how are we going to go about that? And maybe she can have input there as well. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. So how do you start? When you start with a new couple, what are like the most basic common things that come up when a couple wants to create an agreement like that?
I actually recommend for people to do it when they're single.
Really?
Yeah. And of course, like, you're asking me because most people think about this when they're in a relationship. So they're having friction and trouble because they're already conflict about certain things.
Yeah,
but we have to have some agreements.
This
here,
makes so much sense.
So how are we going to go about making an agreement on a relationship that already exists? Yeah. So when you say that the relationship already exists, it really means that you already have agreements. Because you're already doing it. You're already agreed, conscious or unconsciously, to things.
And you have assumptions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like,
a
simple example is, for instance, when people start dating and then they get serious, but they never talked about kids. Yeah. And then one of them says, I want kids. And the other one, like, what?
That's the whole topic.
I don't want kids. And that's boom, like, conflict, because the expectation right there is like off. One of the things, depending on the state of the relationship, if it's a new relationship, very new, like really just they're still building it, then just go have discussions and like go about it. I have a template for a document. So I give this template to people and say, use this, go through the items in here and fill it up. And the first section, you can really fill it up, because it's just filling in some information, like which is your biggest need. You just fill that up. One of the questions is, why do you want a relationship? Yeah. Another one is, why with this person? And then you just fill those questions up. But then from the second section on is really custom based, made for your relationship.
But just before you go on, I like that first part. Yeah. This is like what I call the hygiene job. This is the others are the basics, right? I can also imagine, like, if a couple starts doing this, who feel like, we might need to do this. We might need a document like this, and then they fill this out. I can imagine that this will bring up shit. This will bring up
probably
quite some
baggage,
conflict in the relationship already. But also that maybe people are a bit scared to start doing this process. I'll be honest, like, I also find it kind of a threatening idea to do it, because you're also inviting a lot of possible conflicts in what you want, or maybe even like the beginning of the end of your relationship.
Sure. Yeah. But that's the whole point of the document.
Yeah.
It's to help you deepen the relationship, to get to know yourself and your partner better. Yeah. If, like, my position personally is, if I'm in a relationship with someone and it's doomed to fail because it's not going to work because of how we are, I would rather know that sooner rather than later.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Yeah. So document might help that, because it will ask the difficult questions. It will ask you to step up and be vulnerable and show up and show the things that are inside you. If you don't have you can still do it. The document is not really 100% necessary. You can still have this conversation without writing anything. But nobody does.
Yeah.
A few people do.
Yeah.
So I would rather, if a relationship is doomed to fail, I would rather finish it quickly rather than wait 5 years, 10 years, 2 kids, and then find out.
It makes a total sense, but of course, this is a very a mentalized answer. And a lot of people they don't go about their relationship this way. Of course,
Yeah. Of
course. A lot of relationship is fear driven. I just yesterday I posted a piece about it, even boundaries. How we even not. Especially women don't respect their own boundaries because they have a fear of rejection or abandonment if they actually say that what the guy is doing they don't like it. So even actually really speaking up for what you want, that's for a lot of people that's quite a challenge. Yeah. And anyway, the second part.
What?
Of your template, you said the first part is basic,
so
the second part
starting
is more
from the
custom.
second section, it starts with statements, sentences on how you do a relationship. Something that just came to my mind that I'll just share it already is it doesn't relationships are not symmetrical. So in the document, it doesn't mean that whatever is stated is for both. You can have statements that are just for one person and another one for difference. It's not 50-50 everything. I don't believe a relationship is like that because it's not. I believe they are.
I think you're right because if the same thing might be less important to the other person than for the other.
Or no, it has to do with boundaries and responsibilities. Your boundaries might be different to my boundaries. So we don't have to write the same things for both of us because it's not necessary. Yeah. And again, there's certain things that some people don't need to put on the document. Because it's not an issue. So I tell people you should write it down if it's taking your energy. If it's something that comes back and you have to discuss and it's something that it's really taking your time to live your life.
So that defines what goes into the agreement.
Yeah. So when I give the template to people, I say whatever doesn't resonate with you, just delete it. Yeah. You don't waste your time trying to figure out things that don't have anything to do with you. Yeah. So the financial part for some people is we already have that settled. It doesn't take our energy. We are happy with how we do it. It's not an issue. So you just delete it. You don't have to put it in.
So it's more of a relationship conflict resolution agreement.
Well, it goes back to what the document is, which is a tool to help you in your relationship. Yeah. So, and the best place to help you is in where the conflict is, right? Where the friction is found. Yeah. And the things that are not an issue, then you don't have to waste time going through them because it's not an issue. But again, for the second part in the template, I made, starting from the second part, the statements in such a way that it's not a guide on how to do a relationship. And what do I mean by that? It means that if I have a statement about financials, I'll use that as an example again because it's super easy. One of the examples, for instance, in the template will be we do everything 50-50. Each of us puts 50-50, and that's how we deal with financials. That's it. That's the agreement. Right next to that, I will do, and even with the same number but different letter or something, I will do a different example, saying, for instance, the guy pays for everything. And that's the agreement. And this is not meant to trigger anyone. It's just meant to be so that you cannot just fill it in and take that as your relationship document. It's just so that you can really have to read and choose what fits you better. Yeah. And you can just change whatever you want to change and say, no, I don't feel like this is right. I feel like we should do financials different, in a different way to these two options. And then you fill that up. Yeah. So I really took pains to go about all the statements that is not just one option for everything, and just so that you would take that as what you had to do. Because that goes completely against what I'm trying to do with the document, which is you have to make your own custom-made relationship agreements document that works for your relationship.
It even sounds like a coaching tool in a way.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
So a discussion starter.
Yeah. Yeah. And going back to to what we were saying before, that I recommend to people to do it when they're single.
Yeah.
And the most common answer that I have to that question is advice is, yeah, but I don't know how it's going to go because I don't have a partner yet. And it will depend on who I find, how I will make it. And I was like, no, it doesn't. You want something, you know? What do you want? What is the relationship that you want to have?
Yeah.
You know? And I really believe in the universe as a consciousness thing that we have a relationship with. And you can ask things of the universe.
Yeah.
Other people, that's my version of God. And if I pray to God, you know, like I want, please let me land this job that I really want, and etc.
Yeah.
For me, it's the universe.
Yeah.
But the universe won't know what to give you unless you know what you want. You know?
Yeah.
And if you ask the universe for something, there's a chance it will come to you. But if you never ask the universe for anything, then it's not going to happen.
Well, you won't even know where to steer yourself towards, right?
Yeah. So I really give the advice of do it before, when you're single, before you find someone, to figure out for yourself what you want. Because many people don't even know what they want. Yeah. And this is super like coaching tool, because it's really, what type of relationship do I want to have? Yeah. So it took me ages to figure out that I was open, non-monogamous.
Yeah.
Mostly because growing up in Colombia it's not a subject that anybody talks about. It's seen as the wrong way of doing relationships. Like, it's never considered as an option even. I grew up and I never considered, I knew existed like swinger bars, places and stuff. So I knew that open relationship existed, but it never dawned on me that it was an option for myself. It just didn't register. Don't ask me why, it just didn't. You know, it just didn't make sense, or didn't register that I could do it. There was always a distance to it as something that happened far away.
Yeah.
But then when I read a book and it dawned on me, it registered in that moment that this is something I can do. You know.
Which book was that?
It's called More Than Two, I think, or Beyond Two, or More Than Two. I can't remember.
More Than Two is called.
More Than Two, and I don't remember the name of the author. It's a guy who is polyamorous and has a lot of experience in polyamory. So he's writing, describing like how life is as practicing polyamory. And what happened to me while reading that book is what I called aha moments, or not aha moments, but the moments. You know, like I was reading,
I get it.
and he would say like, this is what's happened, and I was like, well, duh, of course that's how it's supposed to happen. You know, and that happened a few times through the book while I was reading, and then while looking at that, I was like, man, this is me. Like this is describing the type of relationships that I want to have.
It's funny.
This is what I want.
Yeah, it's funny how these books can work. I think I once read something similar, but it was called Opening Up. It was a great read. It's one of those few books that I actually finished. And I think I finished it in like 3 or 4 days. Yeah, and it wasn't a light read. It's pretty thick, but it's funny. I think everybody, whether you're monogamous or whether you are not,
you should read it.
If you read a book like that, you will be astounded by how much sense it actually makes in a lot of respects. It's hard to disagree with a lot of things when you reason from more a logical perspective. So yeah, I understand exactly what you mean by the. It's not aha. Yeah. It's not an epiphany. It's actually it's like the moment. It just makes total sense, right? It's just there's no That's it. Yeah.
So from then on, I said, okay, I changed the way that I looked at myself. Yeah. And I said, okay, I am non-monogamous, and this is how I will relate to people from now on, because that changed inside myself. So where I was going with this is, I didn't have a relationship agreement document to look at when I was younger. Yeah. But if it had existed, or maybe it existed already in the non-monogamy or BDSM scene, which I was not part of, so I never saw it. I was never exposed to a thing called relationship agreement documents. But maybe if I had seen this when I was younger, I would have realized that I was non-monogamous earlier.
Hmm.
You know, so from that perspective, and this has nothing to do with who I'm going to find, because when I discovered that I'm non-monogamous, I started dating, and I shared it with the dates, like, I'm non-monogamous. This is me, like, that's it, and it's not like tomorrow I'm going to wake up and then I'm going to be monogamous again. It's not going to happen.
It's a phase.
No. So if the woman didn't like it and she was like not into it, I was okay. Like, before finding this out 6 months later, dating that I want to have
you get attached,
open,
and then you get hurt,
then there's the friction and there's conflict and there's betrayal, or maybe that's
that's the way she will probably see it.
Maybe. But the point is that
it's a misalignment.
I would find out way early in the dating that it's not going to work. You know, because what am I looking for? It's an open relationship. So if I'm dating someone who is not looking for that, okay, thank you, nice knowing you. Like, we're not gonna date again. Let's have fun tonight, and that's it.
You snooper.
But then I will just, if I found women that are okay with open relationship, non-monogamous relationship, but then okay, we can continue. So I do strongly recommend it for people to do it when they're single.
Yeah.
Because it will really make you consider what you really want for yourself. Not whatever you're going to be able to find. You're not going to settle for something like, oh, but I have him now or her now, and what if I don't find anyone else? Which is the fear, right? I'm going to be alone. Well, figure out what you want for yourself. Tell the universe, or Jesus Christ, or God, or whoever, Allah, whatever. This is what I want. This is the relationship that I want to have, or that I think I want to have, and go for that, and don't settle for something else, because that's not what you want.
It sounds very powerful. At the same time, I also see that might be a pitfall, because some people, they tend to make lists of everything they want a partner to adhere to, right?
Yeah, but there's some just
list, the
wrong expectations.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that's one thing. But also, if you're actually gonna be very rigid about the list like that, it's going to be very hard to find somebody. You're not going to see the humanity in people, but like mainly the fallibility. Anyway, I just want to is it very different what, for instance, men bring into a relationship agreement and what women bring into the agreement?
I'm tempted to say no. Like, there are differences, of course, because we're just different. Like, women they focus more on more emotional parts of the relationship, and men more on the practical side. But at the end of the day, it ends up in the same place.
I can imagine, because when we look at relating, and a lot of times it's just what, like you said, women are more about the emotional part. Women are more about, they have certain requirements or desires about the connection, and men are more have certain desires a lot of times about maintaining a sense of freedom.
Yeah, that's very present,
Yeah. So how does that translate into agreement?
Well, that's how it translates. Like, you just answered it yourself. Like,
no, but I mean in a more practical sense. So are there specific things, for instance, that men say, like, I want at least one night a week to see my friends, and that women are like, I want you to be more present, like at home, have one night with me, you know, to really connect. So how does this materialize?
That definitely happens. Like, what you describe actually happens.
Yeah.
And I can't use my relationship as an example, because in our case, we're both pretty set on that for ourselves. Like, we want time for ourselves. We call it me time. So we both want me time every week. Yeah. That's just part. It's not just the man, me in the relationship wanting me time and her not. Like, it happens for both of us.
I know.
But it does. Like, the question is, what are your priorities? And it might seem that the priority for a guy is freedom. I don't think so. It's a need, but it's not the priority. Because at the end of the day, the priority is having a good relationship. So you will accommodate, and by saying accommodate, I don't mean sacrifice, but I really mean finding a solution that works for both.
It's interesting because you're now tapping into something that I wanted to ask you. Because I always try to tell couples that there's this difference between compromise and collaboration.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times when you start, I think, a relationship agreement document can be very tempting to sort of get what you want by sacrificing something else, so that this is sort of quid pro quo.
Yeah, that
you
long term is not sustainable.
But it's like, I think that's like the foundation of resentment. And then instead of doing that, you explore more, like what does it actually mean to you, why you want this, and is there a way that we can like execute this idea that is beneficial for the both of us, that we both like.
Yeah.
So for instance, I once had the example of compromise versus collaboration, that my girlfriend wanted to spend more time with me, but I wanted to spend more time on working on my music. These things, they didn't seem to go together until we discovered that she's like, yeah, but like I'm happy to read a book on the couch while you work on your music, but I just like to be around you. Yeah. And it's like, instead of that, we thought we were both sort of stuck in a stalemate. Like, yeah, fuck, we're not gonna get what we want, or we're both gonna have to do something. Well, I like spending time with her, but I didn't want to sacrifice the me time. Right. So, but now we found a way that we both win, right?
And it works for both. Yeah.
But you have to like have the journey of this discussion. Right.
And the important part at the end of the day is that neither of you feels like you're sacrificing something. Right. Yeah. So it's not a compromise.
I even like it more this way.
You're just really getting what you want, both of you.
I like it, the feeling she's around. Yeah, so that's even better.
Yeah. I must say that it does happen, compromising. It can happen. And basically because there's boundaries involved. So when there's a boundary involved, the last question to ask is, are you willing to accept that boundary in the other person? Yeah. So a simple example is when you have someone who is non-monogamous and someone who is and who isn't. So one person wants to date more people, the other person doesn't want. So how do you accommodate for this? And then someone's boundary is going to be crossed.
Well, if the monogamous person is not okay with it, I guess.
No, both, because it doesn't matter which side you take. The other person is not satisfied.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a mutual.
My boundary or my freedom. My boundary is the freedom that I feel when I date other people. You know, or the position of the monogamous person would be, my boundary is that you don't go to other people. So there's boundaries involved. You know, and you have to see how you can accommodate them. In a way that works for both, but sometimes it just doesn't. You know,
there's no overlap then.
It doesn't work. So it's a matter of making the boundaries grow, it's hard to speak about this without having concrete examples. And I think the example that I use is not the best.
You gave one. That's pretty tangible.
Yeah, but it's very black and white in a sense that it's my ability to have dates with other people outside of a main relationship, and the feeling of safety because my partner is not with other people. Those two opposing needs, boundaries, it's really, really hard to find a middle ground there. And in these cases, it's either one of you is not going to be satisfied, and the relationship is over. Eventually.
Your case already assumes that this is the case, that they can't find a middle ground.
Yeah.
But also, for instance, there are couples that are, one is monogamous, the other one isn't, and they're both fine with it.
Yeah, but there's no boundary there crossed. Because the person who is monogamous is okay with the other person having more people sexually. So no boundary was crossed. So that what happened there, the boundary grew, right? Or however you want to describe it. No boundaries were crossed, so nobody's hurting. So that's okay. But the issue is when the boundary is really close to yourself and there's no room for navigating it, or accommodating for that, then that's a big conflict. That's something that, like, the question at the end will be, like, can I put up with this boundary for both of them? Like, can I put up with this? And if not, then is this a deal breaker, relationship breaker?
Yeah.
Because
So, for instance, the concept of a relationship agreement document. I can already imagine that for some people that one of the partners is insisting to create a document like that, and the other one, like what you saw, for instance, in the Big Bang Theory, like it the way you see it there, some people just experience this. Oh man, really? You don't want to, you don't need to have to do this. It's and they experience it even as cold, and maybe even a romantic killer.
Yeah,
so you can already have a conflict there, I guess, right?
Yeah, that happens, and I've heard this from people that come to me saying, I want it, but my partner doesn't like it, and he says that it kills the relation, like the romantic aspect. It's like it just doesn't work for them.
Yeah, you shouldn't talk about certain things. Is that the idea?
Well, that's I don't agree. Well,
that's, for me, it's logical. You don't agree.
But at least you should be able to talk about the fact that you cannot talk about it.
Well, what would you say?
Where's the communication? If a relationship without communication is doomed to fail, or is doomed to
that's true.
Not be completely satisfied.
I agree. But can you imagine where a person like that is coming from?
I can think of one thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is like the constraint on freedom for guys, for instance, would be, you wanted to define our relationship, it makes it more serious. And by making it more serious, because you're going to have to write a bunch of stuff down and commit to that, that's the idea.
Yeah.
Then it means that this is it. This is it. That's it. This is my relationship. There's no more options. That finality. Yeah. And I can relate to that. When I was younger, I felt that so many times when I was dating a girl, and it got to a moment that I thought, okay, is this the woman I'm gonna be with for who knows how long? And then I would get cold feet and I would back off.
But how do you
I can understand that.
How do you deal with it when one person of the couple is very eager to do this and the other one is reluctant? But you have to deal with it. Is there a certain?
I would advise the advice that I give to couples that are already established. So not beginning relationships, but relationships that already have a few years or more than a year, or kids, to do what I call a State of the Union.
A State of the Union.
Which is basically the same thing. It's a relationship agreement document. Yeah. But if you look at your life today, if you look at your relationship today, what would be the relationship agreement of this relationship? So we're not talking about what you want, what you would like it to be. We're talking about what is.
What it is.
Yeah.
Where you are.
Because some people come to the document as a tool to improve the relationship they have. Yeah. So they're focused on how to change it. But you need to be aware of what you have first. And then you can see how you want to change it to the better, to what you want. So but if you don't know what you have, then it's going to be harder. And because if you don't write what you have, there's a lot of assumptions. Yeah. But if you write it down, and this is really like not non-idealistic, it's just really down to earth what you have right now in a relationship. Yeah. Like who's doing what, what the agreements that you have already. Not like the unconscious agreements are hard to put on because they're not conscious. But you should try to find out all the agreements that you have and put them down in the document. So that when that's done and you say, okay, this is the relationship that we're living right now, then you can go point by point and question yourself on it. And you can go, okay, this, I'm fine with this. Yeah, we're happy with this. This works. Perfect. This serves. Then, okay, this is not working for us. And then you start talking about that subject.
Yeah.
And why it's not working for you.
Yeah.
How it would be if it does work for you. How can you change it?
Yeah.
What's the effect of changing it, and so on.
So do people actually come to you to get that agreement done, or do they come to you for a relationship coaching and then it becomes
Both.
part of the process?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, because sometimes I'm public about the relationship agreement documents.
Yeah.
So a lot of people hear about that.
Yeah.
And then they start asking me. And I give the template just for free online to whoever asks for it.
Well, tell me where can I find it?
I'll give you a link for it.
Okay.
Because
I can share it also with the people who listen to this.
Yeah.
Then,
It's a shared Google document that anyone can just download.
Cool.
It's in English and in Spanish. So, yeah. I do it in this way because until now, I would keep track of who's getting it, so that I could ask them later for feedback.
Yeah.
Because I'm always looking for how to improve it. And as a coach, I want to know if it works or if it doesn't work, how it works, why it doesn't work, so that I can improve it or help people better. So I used to keep track of the people that I was giving it to. But yeah, at some point it's just going to be there and people will get it, and that's it.
Well, thanks. This is, I think it was really interesting. But also, it's really nice to hear the history of how you came into contact with it and how you applied it and how even as Sami is probably going to be part of it.
I think I didn't mention part of that story is that we did get it through the community and the open non-monogamous aspect of our relationship, because we needed to define a bunch of stuff, but we just realized that we could add more. And while we were living, and when something would come up, we would say, okay, we need to talk about this. We need to put this in the agreement, in the document. And by giving it to other people, I remember one case where I gave it to a friend, and she came back to me really quick, saying, hey, I didn't see this subject. I didn't see this was about extended family. How to deal with your extended family, the family of your partner. So to give an example, in Colombia, it's very common that on weekends you go and have lunch with your partner's family. But some people don't like that. And in this case, in my friend's relationship, it was an issue. They were fighting constantly about the other person's family because they were expected to go to a birthday or something. And she mentioned that, hey, I didn't see nothing about extended families. And I was like, completely true. There's nothing about extended. So I added it into the template. So now it's there. If it's something that you can use, perfect. And if it's not, you just delete it and continue.
You've been a web developer, right?
Yeah.
It would be beautiful if you can create an application. You can drag and drop topics and enable certain segments. You can just create it like that one. That would be awesome. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Cool. Anything else you want to share?
I don't know. Please. Oh yeah, one thing.
Yeah.
I think we already mentioned this, but there's a lot of talk. We've talked about a lot about non-monogamy, but it doesn't mean that the document is for non-monogamous people. It's just because of social context and the framework that I mentioned. You think you already have set how to do your relationship when you are monogamous, but there's so many nuances to a relationship that my goal is, or a wish, not a goal, but a wish is for more people in general. It doesn't matter what type of relationship you have. Make a relationship agreement document, because it's only going to help you.
Yeah.
And by help, I don't mean that it's going to make your relationship better, or at least, it can break relationships. It's a reality. It can happen because you're going to really know the other person better. But I would argue again, I would rather find out the relationship is not going to work sooner rather than later, so that then you can have the relationship that you really want, and then be happy. Because if you don't have the relationship you want, you're not going to be happy.
Yeah.
I think we both
it's a good one.
have experience there.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like, just make the document.
I think it's a very powerful tool, and I think the first time that you ever showed it to me, it also really intricated me when I saw what could go into it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the number one tool to have a very conscious, deep relationship.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
It's not the only thing you need, but
Mm-hmm.
it is the perfect guide.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, you also really need communication skills, to really talk properly with your partner.
Now,
this opens up all the
last
topics.
thing I will say is you can burn the document at the end. You can delete the file. You can, again, it's not about the document itself as having a document.
Yeah.
It's about making it. Because you're
Yeah.
really going to have the incredible discussions with your partner while making it.
Yeah. But I think the fact of writing it,
definitely write it.
well, that's the thing,
Definitely.
you've been a programmer, but that when you have to put something into words, then you get into the specificity.
Yeah.
And then you run into what does it actually mean?
No, and why did you use this word and not another one that is almost the same?
And what does this word mean to you?
Yeah. I remember with my wife, she would question me on some words that I was using because the word for her had a negative connotation or something.
Yeah.
And for me, it didn't.
Yeah,
and then would go...
Cultures. You're from Latin America.
Yeah, we have a
she's
culture
Dutch.
clash there.
Yeah.
Well, a little bit, yeah. But writing things down, it really goes into the specificity that you mentioned. And when you have to write it down, you really have to have it 100% clear. If it's not clear, it doesn't work so well.
So what's your website? Where can people go if they want to learn more about this?
My website is newenfara.com. That's NEWENFARA.com.
.com. All right. And they can also find the agreement there?
Yes, I will make it so. Right now it's not there. It's not there, but I will post it. Yeah, cool. I'm actually working on my website this week, so making some changes.
Okay, cool.
So yeah.
All right, man. Well, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
It was really nice talking to you again.
Agree.
But also to hear how this works for you and the history behind it. I wasn't aware.
No? Oh yeah.
I know you were active with it, but it's new to me. This. So.
Yeah, it's
your story.
really again because of the effect that it had on our relationship. Yeah. And I want to write a book on relationship agreements so that people can read the book and just make it.
Okay. So when is it finished?
Oh yeah, that's.
Commit to it now.
No.
And it will be online forever.
No. It will happen.
Okay, cool. All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so much for this episode. And two more things. First, if you like this content and if you enjoyed the show, please click the subscribe button so you get notified of upcoming episodes. And second, we have another weekender coming up. The 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th of February. There's a new weekender for 24 men just across the border into Germany near Kleve at the Vlierhof community. 3 days of men's work, a rich program with an amazing team. Food and lodging is included, and all you have to do is bring yourself. Now, if you're doubting, like a lot of guys do, you might think, no, this is not for me. Go to the website, mentorofmen.com, and you can find some testimonials from other participants who went before you. But trust me, if I tell you this retreat was rated 4.8 out of 5 by the people who attended. They even called it life-changing. I'm going to see you at the next episode. It's going to be with Celeste December, and we're going to talk about microtransgressions in intimacy. So if you don't want to miss this episode, click the subscribe button, and I will see you there and then. So have a good one, and have a great day.